Assistant Director with the Student Success Center at the University of Texas at Dallas. I'm going to show you all how we use the queue system in person. We have used this virtually also, but we mainly use it in person now. So for those that were kind of curious about how to cast it and what it looks like and how we actually get the students into it and what our center looks like. So our peer tutoring room holds about 120 students. So we can see anywhere from 10 students to 120 students within the day or within a couple hours. And so our tutors never really know who to go to first, who was there first. So we used to have a flag system and students still got mad because we just went to whatever flag we saw. So that's when we implemented the queue system. And so I will share my screen. But this is our center when students walk in. So I figured it was a little bit easier to kind of show y'all from the student perspective. This lab ID is what I'm going to call it because I used to have AccuSQL. This kiosk is separate from the queue. So this kiosk, we ask students to sign in and sign out at the same time, or else it interferes with the queue because we have one center. If you have multiple centers, then you wouldn't run into that problem. So the students just swipe in and swipe out so that we log their visit, because during their visit, they might have multiple questions. So we don't want to over exaggerate our visits if a student had 10 questions in one day. So we just record their visit. And so this is just our setup for that. And then when a student comes in, they can sit down at any table. And on the tables, there are instructions for getting help. So we have a QR code. So Jorge talked about having a QR code. We have a QR code and a link to the queue system. And so all the student does is scans the QR code. We also have iPads out for if a student doesn't have their phone or they don't have a smartphone. We have iPads around that are set up to this kiosk because it can also be a kiosk. So the students can scan the QR code, or if they have their laptop, they can go straight into using the link right there, and it will take them to a kiosk type mode. So I can show you all what that looks like if y'all are interested. Okay, so this is what the student sees when they decide to scan the QR code, go to that link, or sign in with our iPad. And so they just select their course that they're here for. And so we tried to combine a couple of courses. So our tutors, if they're OChem tutors, they help with 1 and 2. If they're calculus tutors, they help with 1 and 2. So it just allows the list to be shorter for the students to look through. So let's say TMOC's here for calculus 1. You can only select 1 course. And for tutor, we actually have the table number. So the student just selects the table number they're at, and then they click next. I'm not going to do it because then my tutors are going to see TMOC in the queue and they're not going to know what's going on. So once it puts them in, it will just say, like, do you want to sign out or do you want to stay in is the next page. And so students will just stay in. And again, we have the table number listed on the actual table so they don't know which one to choose. And so what happens is it goes into the queue. So this is us casting it on monitors. We have 2, we're about to have 4 monitors in our peer tutoring space, 1 on each corner. So you have the student's name, the course that they're in, which table they're in, and how long they've been waiting. And so the tutors and the students can all see this. So we tell our tutors, you go from the very top all the way down for the subjects. And so the tutors on their phones, or they can borrow one of our iPads on the back end, will sign the student in once they go to the table to help the student, and then sign them out when they're done. If they can't help the student, they can put them back in line. And when they put them back in line, their wait time actually goes to what it was previously. So if the student was waiting 30 minutes and then a tutor tries to help them, and let's say the tutor couldn't help, when they put the student back in, it will still show that they've been waiting for 30 minutes so that they don't get bumped back down to the bottom. And that's kind of how we utilize the queue. And then from the back end, Jorge kind of showed y'all the back end. I can't pull mine up because I have students signed in currently, so I don't want to do anything with FERPA, or else I would show you all the back end. Any questions? Comments, concerns?
Hi, Kelly. I have a quick question for you.
Of course.
My name is Julie. I'm from the University of Toledo, and we are looking to switch into a queuing mode because with some upcoming budget cuts, we are going to lose our front desk person. And so I'm trying to replace that. And this seems like it would work really well for our center because, like you, we are a drop-in center, and we have students coming in and out all the time, and they might flip-flop. So to get to my question, your kiosk at the front desk, you're just capturing a quick sign in, sign out, but the students aren't selecting any courses or anything like that, right?
When they walk in, they select their course so that we can do like grade data later. And so those are actually, it will list like Math 2413, whereas in the queue, it would say Calculus 1 and 2.
Okay, so then when they go to the table and they're picking, you know, their table and selecting that information, does that skew your reports at all where it looks like a double visit?
So we created 2 different labs. So we have the in-person, we call it drop-in peer tutoring for the kiosk at the front. And then this one is called PT questions. So when we pull the report, we actually just exclude all PT questions from our data and only look at the in-person one. We use the PT questions. We can pull a wait time report with the PT questions to look at what hours are we seeing a larger influx of wait times, and we can get like average wait times from that.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Of course.
Hey, Kelly, quick question. When you are capturing the data, how do you know exactly who is the tutor that sees this? Do you put it in the notes of the session, or because you see you're using table, that information on table 1, 2, 3 as a tutor. So how do you know what tutor is seeing Mary or John or Peter?
We don't necessarily care about that.
Okay.
However, some of our tutors do, and so when they sign them in or sign them out, you can actually change the tutor from a table number to the name of a tutor
Nice.
when they sign them out. So that's, some of the tutors did it for contact tracing for COVID because they wanted to know if they were in contact with someone, and some didn't care. So some would change their name and some wouldn't.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah.
Looks like Colin has a question. Colin, if you can unmute yourself if you'd like, or you can put that in the chat, however you'd like.
Sure. Do you find any students ever have any concerns about having their name on the queue list?
We've had a couple that thought it was like against FERPA or anything like that, but it's actually not, because their last name is not listed and we don't specifically say the course. So we have a lot of overlap with courses. That's one reason why we don't specifically say Math 2413, because then if you were the only Vicky in Math 2413, you could essentially figure out who that is. So we try to do it like that, but most of the students haven't cared. We've had one that did, and just when he comes in, the tutors kind of know him and he'll just flag them down. But if that tutor is busy, they'll just say, hey, let me help the student, and then I'll be right with you. Does that answer your question, Colin?
Yeah, thank you.
Great question, Colin. Anyone else have any questions for Kelly? Thank you so much, Kelly. This is the first user spotlight that's shown this particular feature, so we're really excited to be able to show out how one of our users is utilizing it. Any other questions for Kelly? Give it a couple seconds here, and I'm also going to go ahead and pull up our SurveyMonkey link. As always, if you have never taken our survey before, or if you have taken it but it's been a while, we really encourage you to fill out this survey. It helps us make sure we are keeping these sessions fresh and of interest. So I'm just going to put that link there. Julie, did you have another question?
I did. Real quick. How long do your students typically wait for a tutor, or do you give your tutors guidelines as to how long a student should be in that queue?
That's a great question. So our student, it's dependent on how many tutors we have on for that subject. So Typically, we try not to have them waiting more than 15 minutes. However, on Mondays and Tuesdays, that's when like all of our math homework is due, or on exam days for OCHM, which is Wednesday, they wait anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. We also have students that decide to come in when we don't even have a tutor available for that subject. So you'll see them on there for 3+ hours. We tell them there's no one here, but they'll wait 3 hours. And then for tutors, it's dependent on the subject. So for physics, some of those questions can take 30 minutes, just one question. Whereas for calculus or pre-cal, it might take 5 minutes. So we tell the tutors to exercise judgment because they can see the wait list. So if it's a long wait, we tell them more than 15 or 20 minutes, they need to try to figure out how to wrap up with that student and go to the next one, especially if they're the only tutor on for that subject.